Welcome to Under the Hood, a brand new video series all about what we're working on here at Psyonix. We'll talk about new game modes, changes coming to Rocket League, and much more. Be on the lookout for more videos throughout the year, but for now, it's all about our brand new mode, Knockout. Knockout is all about car combat. Up to 8 players battle it out in a new free-for-all elimination mode. Use attacks and grabs to stun and launch your opponents to their destruction, while blocks and dodging will help keep you in the game. The more speed you have, the more devastating your attacks will be. Find yourself being blasted into the stratosphere? Do your best to recover from the hit and get back to the arena using jumps and boost. The last player driving wins. And I'm here with Josh, Miky, and Skylar, just a few of the folks here at Psyonix who have been working on Knockout for the last few months. Josh, can you talk about the inspiration behind this new mode? It's a lot different than anything we've ever brought to Rocket League before.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we took inspiration from all over the place for this one. Where we started was to kind of go back to our roots with an internal project called Crash Course. And for those who don't know that game, it was a floating platform in space where you would try to knock other players off into space with power-ups. And one of our favorite power-ups was one where you would sort of turn an opponent into a kind of a floating ball, and they would fly off into space, and then they would have to try to recover back. And while we would ultimately drop a ball into the map and create Skylar, we always thought there was something compelling about this trying to recover back to the platform thing. So that's actually where we started with Knockout. We went back to that original map, we dropped in some power-ups from Rumble, and we were off and running. And while that led to some fun, you would drive around the map, you'd get a boot, and then you'd kick somebody into space. And that really just didn't have that skill ceiling that we were looking for. So then we moved to looking at vehicular combat games, things like Twisted Metal, Vigilante 8, some of our favorites, and what we realized pretty quickly is those are all projectile-based combat games. And while we love those games, that didn't give us that like car-to-car, really visceral action that we were hoping to have. So from there, we kind of looked to another unlikely genre in brawlers, and some of our favorites like Super Smash Brothers, or even going back to Dreamcast and looking at Power Stone, which is an awesome game.
I love Power Stone.
Yeah, so cool. So yeah, once we started going down that route, and we started integrating that really, really satisfying car-to-car combat and those really big, visceral interactions, once we introduced that into the game, we sort of never looked back.
Why don't you walk us through the design philosophy behind the new game mode?
Yeah, so we look at Knockout as a whole new paradigm for Rocket League. It's a way for us to sort of expand the boundaries of what a Rocket League experience can be. Over the years, we've been making modes and experiences that kind of conform to a few rules, like 2 teams, players control rocket-powered cars, and there's a physics object that they try to influence in order to score. But we always knew Rocket League could be more than that. And you can just look at the great creators within our community. They're creating things like rings and dribbles challenges, and those things break one or more of our rules and still feel distinctly Rocket League. So when we looked at this mode, we were really saying, like, how can we make something that's fun and feels like Rocket League? Which sounds really simple, but when you start to build a fighting game with rocket-powered cars in 3D space, that gets pretty complicated pretty fast.
Speaking of challenges, Sky, can you walk us through some of the technical challenges that we ran into when we were making Knockout?
Sure. Well, this is our first player versus player mode. And I would say one of the initial challenges that we faced was actually player-to-player interaction. Because normally you have a car and a ball, and the ball is usually bigger and more predictable, has no inputs. You can easily aerial and figure out where it's going to go. When it comes to player versus player, they can change directions, dodge, do whatever. So we wanted to expand the attack ability, the attack radius for the moves. And this allows us to make it easier to interact back and forth, and it also allows players to use any vehicle they want.
Yeah, hitboxes don't matter anymore, right?
Exactly.
Did we have to make any physics changes in Knockout compared to Skylar?
Yes, we did. So we ended up adding support so that you can do multiple dodges and double jumps, and you can do them in rapid succession. And the reason for this is so you could do multiple attacks while in the air before touching the ground for a reset again. And now there's no time constraint like soccer. You can do them at any point in time while moving around.
Yeah, we'll give players a ton of opportunities to get back to the map if they get blasted way off to the edge.
And you will. You definitely will.
Can you talk about some of the changes we had to make to the camera system to help accommodate for target lock?
Of course. So one of the things that we wanted to solve for was being able to follow players easily. And so we added support for target lock and support so you could cycle between targets. Doing this allows you to find the person that you want to get and go after them.
Yeah, with 7 other players in the arena with you, it's definitely a target-rich environment.
Absolutely.
So Miky, with Knockout, we're bringing 3 really unique brand new arenas into Rocket League. Can you talk a little bit about the design and inspiration behind the new arenas?
Yeah, definitely. From the get-go, from my time here at Psyonix, I've always wanted to create an Aztec ball court themed arena. And with Knockout, that seemed to be the perfect time to finally get that look, that style in the game, which I was super excited about.
It's combat focused.
Yeah, exactly. It's combat focused. And what we ended up doing and going with was mixing that Mesoamerican theme with like retro wave art style, you know, blend it together, and then yeah, this is what we got. This is how we got it in.
80s Azteca.
I love it. Yeah, that's all me, dude. Like Aztec, you know, Mesoamerican theme, and just lasers, dude. Like, lasers are awesome.
Everybody loves lasers. So with these 3 new arenas, what are their names, and talk a little bit about the differences between them?
Yeah, so we got Quadron, Carbon, and Calavera. With Quadron, we wanted that just to be a simple map, easy to play on, just to introduce the player into the game space and Knockout, and you know, see what it's all about. 4 equal spaces, breaking up the flow, keeping everything nice and tight, but still separated enough so that people can engage in smaller group combat.
Just the right amount of distance.
Yes, that's a big thing there, the distance and the metrics of each map. The next one, Carbon, yeah, so that started off as a multi-tiered map. And in the beginning I went, you know, pretty extreme, had platforms like everywhere, and people just had a hard time getting to the different platforms.
A little too much chaos.
Too much chaos. It was really hard for less skilled players. They had a hard time seeing what was going on above, around, and even just getting to the different areas. So that got condensed to 3 tiers, then eventually 2 tiers, and then I added ramps connecting the tiers just to allow people a little bit easier flow, and again to get to help less skilled players get to the different parts of the map. And Calavera, which is my personal favorite. Actually, I got inspiration from my son. He had a school project. They were making ofrendas for Dia de los Muertos. And he did his own drawing of a sugar skull, and I was just like, I love skulls. That's freaking awesome. Purely aesthetic, let me just throw a skull down there and then see how that plays out. And for some reason, it just worked very well. The holes, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, like having the player drive around those made for great flow. The spikes, which is like a spike headdress, that's when I first introduced hazards, by the way. It's just fun to drive around. It's risky, but if you can get a throw in there or start bashing away.
Well, and for lower skill players, you're not relying on launching somebody way off onto the corner of the map. You have a closer target. Let's talk about the hazards of the spikes. You know, you see them in all 3 arenas, and gives players a different opportunity to get knockouts instead of having to launch opponents all the way across the arena, right?
Yep. So yeah, visually, the spikes, which is kind of like a headdress, looked super cool. And I was like, let me add some spikes to that, see what happens. And it was like in that specific section, like a high risk, high reward. It was a dangerous area, but it was really fun to play.
Didn't we have a big like dome of like spikes? Like what were we calling that?
Thunderdome.
Thunderdome, right? Yeah, Thunderdome.
Yeah, that was crazy. So what happened was having that platform up high with the Thunderdome with the inverted spikes in it. People just kept flying up to the top and 1v1, each other. And what ended up happening was everybody would just watch. So it kind of took away from the overall flow of the match. And so we decided, maybe we better hold off with the Thunderdome for now and maybe bring it back later somehow.
And with Thunderdome, that basically evolved into sudden KO, right?
Yeah, so it was sort of like the precursor, right? Like, the thing that made it so compelling was that players knew that every hit was going to turn into a KO, right? And like, there's something really, really satisfying about like trying to outplay somebody. And so, yeah, that would ultimately become sudden KO, where every single hit is maximum power. And if you misplay that at all, you're going straight up into the, out of the safe zone, and it results in an instant KO.
So, guys, with Knockout, it's one of our most unique modes ever for Rocket League. And, what does it take, not just with the three of you, but for the entire studio, what does it take to bring a mode together like this?
It takes a lot of iteration. So we went through the process of essentially starting off as a brawler, and then eventually moving on to adding a block mechanic and then the grab mechanic, just to add variety and to make everybody at our studio that's played it happy. All of their feedback is what has made the mode as good as it is.
It really is kind of it's cliche, but it takes a village attitude, right?
Totally. I mean, like, we're here talking about it today, but there were so many people that put so much into this mode. We, as Skylar mentioned, we did tons of play testing, tons. Got so much good feedback from everyone in the studio. And, the team that works on something like this it's large, like we have VFX, audio, we have other engineers, UI, UX, like so many people have touched this. QA has done an amazing amount of work on this mode to help us hone in on exactly what makes it fun. So, it really takes a lot of us, a lot of iterating and play testing to really try to hone in on what makes it great.
Yeah, and getting that feedback from all different corners of the studio. So, last question, I'll start with you, Skylar. What was your Eureka moment when you realized how much fun Knockout really was?
I'd say the moment that I stopped trying to test it and actually was enjoying it during the playtest. I was there and I was just like having so much fun. I was like, this is gonna be a blast.
You kind of turn that analytics part of your brain off a little bit and just car combat all the way?
Yes, that and the fact from all of our player feedback, like from all the play tests, people were just absolutely loving it. And that's always what you want to hear when you've been working on something so long.
Same question for you, Miky.
I remember when Sky finally got set up the velocity-based, I don't know what you'd call it, the calculation of when you hit somebody driving full speed, getting that maximum hit and just sending somebody flying.
So satisfying.
Felt so good. It felt so good. And then just seeing them fly and go into the spikes, and yeah, it was great. That was a good moment.
I think Josh has a good story for us on this too, right?
Yeah. I remember, it was probably right after that velocity-based stuff got into the mode. There was this incredible exchange where I think Skylar was coming back, trying to get back to the platform, and I managed to land my first edge guard. I flew out over the lasers, and I just smashed him in the air, and he goes flying. And honestly, from that moment on, I was like, I cannot wait for the community to get their hands on this. The stuff that they're gonna be able to do with this mode is gonna be incredible, and I can't wait to see it. I really can't.
There are so many satisfying hits you can do. For me, some of the best moments are recoveries, right? You get launched clear across the arena, you're just at the border, but you have enough boost to get back, and you just make it back, and you end up riding on the side of the arena and just kind of waiting there to pick your moment. Somebody comes close by and you peek up and get your shot in. There are so many different ways to approach Knockout and have a ton of fun with it.
Absolutely, yeah, and that kind of goes back to that, back to our roots a little bit. That recovery mechanic from Crash Course, it's like we knew there was something there, and we absolutely love what it's become in Knockout. So really, really excited to get it into people's hands.
We hope our players will love it as well.
We could not be more excited about Knockout, and we can't wait to hear your thoughts on our new mode in the coming days. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe down below. Hit us up on Discord, and come on over to the official Rocket League subreddit. Thanks, everybody, and we'll catch you in the next one.